At the beginning of the story, we are shown a family enjoying their vacation on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, a girl named Julia jumps into the water, but after a while, she starts feeling that something is strange. She looks around, but she cannot see anything unusual, so she ignores it and continues enjoying herself. However, a little later, she gets the same strange feeling again. This time as well, she cannot see anything around her. Feeling uneasy, she quickly starts swimming back toward the boat. But suddenly, something grabs her leg from behind and starts pulling her down. Frightened, she begins screaming for help. Meanwhile, her daughter Cassie is listening to music with headphones on, so she cannot hear anything. Her husband Tom and her son Ben are busy fishing, so they do not hear her either. Julia struggles to stay above the water, but because water keeps entering her mouth, it becomes difficult for her to shout. After some time, Tom realizes that he has not seen Julia for a while. He looks around and spots her in the water. Seeing her in trouble, he immediately jumps into the sea. With great effort, he manages to bring her back up and out of the water. However, Julia thinks that it probably happened because of the strong waves. Later that night, the family is celebrating Ben's birthday together when Cassie receives a call from her boyfriend. She goes outside to talk to him on a video call. During the call, her boyfriend shows her that huge dark clouds have covered the sky over the city. But suddenly, the signal is lost and the call gets disconnected. So, she quickly goes and tells the rest of the family about it, but Tom says that the signal was probably weak because they were far away from land. Just then, they hear a strange sound. When they go outside to check, they see several whales passing by. Tom explains that whales usually follow the Earth's magnetic field, but when a storm approaches, they can become confused. Suddenly, the boat shakes violently, causing Ben to fall down. Worried that the boat might have been damaged, Tom dives into the water to inspect it. A little later, he returns to the surface, but there is a large wound on his shoulder. Seeing this, Julia immediately starts treating his injury. Tom tells everyone that while he was underwater, he felt as if a gigantic creature was behind him. But when he turned around to look, something slashed his shoulder. He says that whatever it was enormous. Since the boat has also suffered significant damage, he asks Julia to call for help. Julia repeatedly tries to contact someone using the radio, while Cassie searches for a phone signal, but nothing works. Then, Cassie spots a strange creature. Terrified, she starts screaming. However, it turns out to be Ben wearing a mask and playing a prank. A short while later, the boat completely shuts down and becomes stranded in the middle of the ocean. After many attempts, Julia finally hears a voice over the radio. However, the transmission is so distorted that she cannot understand anything. Tom informs everyone that they only have enough food and water for 4 more days and that they will have to wait for a fishing boat to find them. Suddenly, something appears on the radar, and they all hear a strange sound. They rush outside and are shocked to see numerous fiery objects falling from the sky. Everyone is terrified. One large object crashes into the water near their boat. Seeing this, Tom immediately tries to start the boat. But then another object strikes the area. Tom soon realizes that the falling fireballs are not meteors. They are satellites crashing back to Earth. At that moment, Ben notices smoke coming from the boat. Tom checks and confirms that the engine has failed. Soon, the wind starts getting stronger, forcing everyone to take shelter inside the boat. The boat begins rocking violently. At the same time, Ben falls again and is injured this time. Afterward, Tom struggles to get outside and manages to bring back the life jackets. But suddenly, the boat loses power completely. Tom immediately presses the switch on the power box. Just then, Ben notices that blood is coming from Julia's nose. Because of this, Julia starts feeling dizzy. Tom keeps trying to call for help on the radio, but without a signal, they cannot contact anyone. Meanwhile, the wind grows even stronger. Julia attempts to close the doors, but the powerful gusts cause the windows to start shattering. Before long, darkness falls. The next morning, when they wake up, they discover that half of their boat has been destroyed. When they step outside, they are stunned to see that the ocean water has completely disappeared. Their boat is now resting entirely on dry land. Everyone is left in shock. Cassie checks for a signal again, but there is still none. Tom then examines his compass and is astonished to find that it is pointing in the wrong direction. Seeing this, everyone becomes even more confused and worried. Meanwhile, Cassie starts believing that her boyfriend may have died, which leaves her heartbroken. After that, Julia and Tom check the remaining supplies there, Tom then tries to contact someone through the radio again, and this time they successfully connect with Captain Now of a submarine. There, he explains that his submarine is also stranded on dry land. He says that the Earth's magnetic poles have reversed, causing the oceans to recede and exposing the seabed while many land areas have been flooded. As a result, communication systems around the world have completely failed. He further explains that after a few days, the poles may reverse again, and the ocean water could return. He warns them to get to the highest ground possible because when the water comes back, it will be extremely dangerous. He tells them that all of his friends died in the crash and that his submarine only has room for 3 people. Hearing this, Julia and Tom say that he should save only their children and leave them behind. The man agrees, but he explains that it will take them 2 days to reach the submarine. Tom then says that they will leave the following morning. After that, everyone settles down to rest. The next morning, as they are packing their belongings, Tom notices something moving in the distance. He goes to investigate and finds a man accompanied by a dog. The dog keeps barking continuously. Tom approaches the man and offers him a bottle of water. However, the man speaks in a language that Tom cannot understand. After drinking the water, the man suddenly attacks Tom and strikes him on the head with the bottle. As a result, Tom falls to the ground. Seeing all this, Julia becomes terrified and starts running away, but by then it is already too late. The man has already stabbed Tom in the stomach. Tom writhes in pain for a few moments, and then the attacker slashes his throat as well. The man then chases after Julia and fires a harpoon at her, injuring her shoulder. Enduring the pain, Julia rushes back to the boat, takes the children inside, and locks the door. Cassie and Ben hide inside a sofa compartment. Julia gives them a flare gun and then hides in the bathroom with a knife. The man repeatedly slams against the door and eventually manages to break in. First, he grabs some food and then he starts searching for them throughout the boat. Slowly, he makes his way toward the bathroom. However, Julia cleverly escapes through a small opening. The man assumes that she has already fled, but as Julia quietly tries to move away, the man's dog spots her and attacks. Julia is forced to stab the dog with her knife. Hearing the dog's cries, the man rushes outside and is devastated when he sees his dog dead. Meanwhile, Julia attempts to re-enter the boat from the other side. She climbs up and starts crawling through a broken window, but the man reaches the spot before she can get inside. He grabs her and punches her hard, causing her to fall. Julia tries to protect herself by grabbing onto furniture, but the man kicks her away. He then steps on her wrist to make her drop the knife and grabs her by the hair, smashing her face against the floor. After that, he throws her onto a sofa and begins choking her. Meanwhile, Ben and Cassie witness everything. Cassie finally comes out of hiding and fires the flare gun. The flare strikes the man directly, and flames quickly begin spreading around the boat. Taking advantage of the chaos, the 2 children immediately run away. Julia then fights back, knocking the man to the ground. Afterward, she grabs the map and their supplies and escapes with the children. Ben and Cassie run to Tom's body and break down in tears. But then the attacker emerges from the burning boat once again. Seeing him still alive, they immediately start running. After traveling some distance, they stop near a small waterfall to rest. Following a short break, the 3 of them continue their journey forward. But on the way, they come across a dead shark, which leaves them shocked and confused. Just then, Julia notices that the man is getting close to them again. Seeing this, all of them start running as fast as they can. While fleeing, they tumble down a large sand dune. Even so, they manage to cross it and believe they have finally escaped from the attacker. As they continue their journey, they see the bodies of several enormous creatures scattered across the landscape, all of them dead. By this point, Ben becomes extremely weak. Julia realizes that he is close to severe dehydration. When she checks their water supply, she discovers that all the water bottles are empty. Frustrated and frightened, Julia yells that their carelessness has left them without water. Cassie responds bitterly, saying that it does not matter anyway because none of them are going to survive. Hearing this, Julia remains silent, and the group continues moving forward. After traveling a little farther, they come across a crashed airplane. Julia decides that they will spend the night inside the plane. Later, while resting there, Julia finds a family photograph inside Tom's jacket. Seeing it breaks her heart, and she is overwhelmed with grief. That night, while everyone is asleep, Cassie quietly steps outside the plane. But at that very moment, the attacker appears behind her and tries to grab her. Fortunately, Julia rushes in from behind and stabs him with a knife. This time, the man finally dies. The next morning, when they look at his body, they notice that it is covered with countless insects. There are also numerous bite marks all over him. Realizing this, they conclude that many dangerous creatures must be hiding in the area. Afterward, they resume their journey. A few hours later, Julia and Cassie are studying the map when Ben wanders off ahead of them. Julia immediately shouts for him to stop. However, Ben kneels beside a pond and starts drinking the water. Julia quickly pulls him away and explains that unknown water could make him seriously ill. They continue walking, but the intense heat soon makes Ben feel dizzy and weak. To protect him from the sun, Julia builds a small shelter using some old chairs lying nearby. She then gives Ben an injection and decides that they will spend the night there. After saying that, all three of them try to get some rest. The following morning, Julia hears a strange sound. She goes outside to investigate and sees a massive swarm of crabs moving toward them. Alarmed, she immediately wakes the children, and they begin running away. After covering some distance, they spot a huge cargo ship. There are 3 men aboard it. One of the men wants to help Julia and the children, but the other 2 refuse. Instead, they lock themselves inside a shipping container and leave the family outside. Determined to survive, Julia helps Ben and Cassie climb onto the container. She is about to climb up herself when the crabs suddenly latch onto her leg and bite down hard. Despite the pain, Ben and Cassie manage to pull her up onto the container just in time. Meanwhile, many of the crabs enter the container through a hole at the bottom. The men trapped inside immediately start shooting at them. However, the crabs quickly overwhelm them and kill 2 of the men. One survivor struggles desperately and manages to reach an opening in the roof, but even he is dragged back down by the swarm and killed. At the same time, Julia loses consciousness. When she wakes up some time later, she finds herself alone in the middle of a sandstorm. Panicked, she looks around but cannot see anyone. She starts shouting for her children. Fortunately, Cassie hears her voice and rushes over. Cassie explains that she and Ben had gone looking for help but could not find anyone. Afterward, they continue their journey. A little later, they discover an open shipping container where they decide to wait until the storm passes. Julia takes out Tom's lighter and painfully cauterizes her wound by burning it shut. Once the storm finally ends, they set off again. Soon, they find another container filled with bottled water. Inside, they also discover a radio and a gun. Julia immediately uses the radio to contact their submarine friend. She explains that they have lost the map. In response, he tells her that they were attacked by arthropods, which have now become completely aggressive and out of control. He urges Julia to reach the submarine as quickly as possible because his instruments indicate that the ocean will return much sooner than expected. According to his calculations, they only have a few hours left. He then launches a flare into the sky. Seeing the flare, Julia, Cassie, and Ben begin heading toward it. After a long journey, they finally spot the submarine. Overjoyed, they realize they are close to safety. However, to reach it, they must cross a dangerous rocky path. As they move across it, rocks suddenly begin falling around them. Julia immediately pushes her children out of danger and jumps back herself. A huge boulder crashes down between them, separating Julia from Cassie and Ben. Julia shouts that they must keep moving forward without her. She tells them that if they stay, they will die too. But Cassie refuses to leave her mother behind. Eventually, Julia manages to convince Cassie to continue. Cassie takes Ben and heads toward the submarine. When they finally arrive, they find Now lying outside, covered in blood. He tells them that everyone else is dead and that they can take the submarine. Hearing this, Cassie immediately runs back toward her mother. Meanwhile, Julia spots a massive swarm of crabs approaching. She pulls out the gun and starts firing, but the swarm is enormous, making it impossible to stop them all. At that moment, Julia sees Cassie above her. Determined to survive, she begins climbing despite her injured leg. With Cassie's help, she reaches the other side, and together they run toward the submarine. The crabs continue chasing him relentlessly. They climb onto the submarine, but Now is unable to get aboard. The crabs overtake and kill him. Julia keeps firing at the swarm while Ben and Cassie climb inside. Soon, her ammunition runs out. With no other option, she throws the gun at the crabs and rushes inside the submarine as well. Looking outside, they see the crabs surrounding the vessel from all sides. But then the ocean suddenly returns. The 3 of them quickly sit down, fasten their seat belts, and hold each other's hands. Massive waves begin tossing the submarine violently in every direction. As this happens, Julia experiences visions of everything they have gone through during their journey. Cassie becomes seasick and vomits. Soon, the mysterious high-pitched sound returns. Moments later, all three of them lose consciousness. When they finally wake up, they are overjoyed to discover that they are still alive. They exit the submarine and find that the powerful waves have carried it into a ruined city. And with that, this movie comes to an end here.